Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Edelstein here again with a short Torah thought, sponsored by MEOR, Washington, D.C. MEORDC.com is our website. Check it out. And definitely check out this week's Torah portion, which is Korach, in the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, a very important, dramatic, tragic incident in the history of our people is recorded in this Torah portion that has much to teach us today. Who was Korach? Korach was a very prominent individual, a first cousin of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses and of Aaron. And the Torah describes how he gathered around himself several hundred members of the Jewish community leaders, prominent people. And he came to Moshe with a complaint and with a claim. And he said to Moshe, Moshe, the whole Jewish people are holy. We all stood at Mount Sinai and heard God speak, which is true. Why then do you, Moshe and Aaron, your brother, why do you elevate yourselves above the rest of this community? What was he talking about? Well, Moshe was the spiritual leader of the Jewish people, the teacher of the Torah, and Moshe had recently appointed, at God's command, Aaron to be a Kohen, to be the one who would have special divine service in the tabernacle and later the temple, and that would be passed, that privilege would be passed to his children, his sons. Like today, anyone who's a Kohen is a direct descendant of Aaron. So Korach was saying, you, Moshe, you're the head teacher, and you appointed Aaron as the Kohen. What's going on here? Implicitly challenging Moshe's leadership, his integrity. And not only that, but he ridiculed some of the mitzvot and the laws that Moshe was teaching the Jewish people, pointing out what would seem to be on a rational level inconsistencies, suggesting that these laws didn't come from God to Moshe, that Moshe was inventing them for his own benefit, his own self-aggrandizement. This was a rebellion, a very bold, dangerous rebellion against the leadership, the authority, the integrity of Moshe, and really against something else too, the underpinnings of Torah itself, as we'll explain in a second. Now, what was motivating Korach? The Torah, the oral tradition tells us, burrowing deep into the human heart, tells us that Korach was motivated by jealousy, by kina. He came with good slogans, with good rallying cries, with a cause that seemed in a sense just, and a good point to it, that we are all holy, that's true, but he was motivated by personal jealousy. Another younger cousin had been appointed at God's behest for a certain position of authority, and Korach, who was a great and talented and wise person, felt that he should have had that position, and he also wanted to be the Kohen instead of Aaron. And by the way, many of the people he gathered around him, all of them had their own complaints, their own jealousy, their own desire to be Kohen, to be a Kohen, to have a position of prominence like Aaron. So he was motivated by personal jealousy. So one of the important aspects of this Torah portion is how destructive and corrosive and dangerous kina, jealousy, can be in our lives. We know that. The rabbis famously say, jealousy, unbridled lust, and running after honor, motziin es ha'adam min ha'olam, can take a person from the world. And they mean both the physical world, like Korach. He meets a very dramatic and earth-shaking end. If you look at the details, I'm not going to reveal the details, but he is removed from this world physically as a result of the jealousy that led him to do what he did. But also, when the rabbis say remove a person from the world, they mean from the world to come, God forbid, because jealousy, uncontrolled lust, and honor-seeking can lead a person to do transgressions that could sacrifice, God forbid, their eternal spiritual life. So that's one of the ideas of this Torah portion, kina, jealousy. But there's another aspect too that's important, and that is that Korach's claim seems to be good on the one hand. We're all holy. So why do we need you as a leader, or you as a rabbi, or you as an authority figure? That speaks very much, I think, to what we might say an egalitarian trend in modern thought in modern times, but it was very misguided. Because it's true, every Jewish person stood at Mount Sinai. We're all holy. For that matter, every human being is created in God's image. Judaism teaches that every human being can have a connection to God. But Torah is taught as a chain of transmission, as a Mesorah. And Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen by God to be the conduit through whom or through which Torah would come to the world, and forever after, that's how we learn Torah. The rabbis say, Aseh lecha rav. You have to have a mentor, someone to teach you Torah. You can't just do it on your own. That's the very nature of Torah knowledge. So Korach's rebellion was A, misguided in the sense that it was based on a personal jealousy, and B, it was misguided in the sense that just because we all are holy, just because we did have a collective revelation of God speaking to us at Mount Sinai, the very foundation of our faith, that doesn't mean that we all equally figure out how to keep the Torah or what the Torah means or what it should say. We learn Torah laws and Torah wisdom as part of a MEOR, as part of a chain of transmission from our parents, from our teachers, going all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Those are two very fundamental and important lessons in this week's Torah portion. And now you have to look, and when you read the Torah portion and see the dramatic and uncanny punishment that Korach and his followers get, you can deduce from that how serious his challenge was, how dangerous his rebellion was against Moshe's leadership and against the underpinnings of Torah and how it's meant to be taught. Shabbat Shalom.